Alright folks, welcome along to the Patriot game post-match reaction. I'm here in the studio, and in Dublin we've got Pierce, and in Belfast we've got Lee. We'll just get straight into it, lads. What did you make of today's game?
Absolutely diabolical, terrible. I think from the very start, just before the match, obviously we were waiting to see if James Forrest was going to be fit to play. So when the news came in that he wasn't, it automatically set the tone for me. I was just flat right away. I thought that he's obviously a massive, massive loss. And yeah, the performance was just completely awful in terms of, like, I want to get stuck straight into the fullbacks. And I've mentioned this before. I think they're the two worst fullbacks in my lifetime anyway. Laxalt and Kenny. Totally awful.
Both of them are just a car crash, eh? Just absolutely unbelievable. I know a lot of people will talk about, like, we should have started Taylor and all that sort of stuff. It's barely even a defence because he's so bad as well. Like, you've got a situation where you had two fullbacks, both of them go for huge money, 25 million and 11 million, and would replace him with two loanees and a guy that was fairly mediocre at a decent Kilmarnock team. Like, the systematic downsizing of the club is taking us to where we are today, and it's been evident all season. For me, I put the sole blame on the board, because the board were the ones that recruited Lennon. They didn't facilitate and finance and support Rodgers to the degrees that he needed, and then you've got a situation where Kennedy and McManus come in. Just hopeless. The only positive that will come out today is that there is literally zero credible case now for Kenny to get the full-time job. So we need to start the rebuild, and it needs to start tomorrow morning. Just absolutely shocking.
Yeah, just even before we came on, I just wrote down a few things of what I might say, and the two words that came to mind were effort and desire, and that was lacking throughout the team. There's no heart. You've got basically nothing players in Kenny, Laxalt. Christie's a myth. Like, he thinks he's going to the English Premiership. If he is, that shows how poor that league might be, because he's an imposter. The team's full of imposters and frauds who are just going through the motions.
Full of cowards, eh? How many men in that team today represented that jersey and thought, I'm going to take it to them, I'm going to have a battle? That was a huge test today. Scottish Cup game, one-off match, 90 minutes. We had chances as well. It wasn't as if we never had chances. We were absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, there was when Brown got taken down for the free kick in the second half, and it was Morelos was in the round, because he always is, and Elianusi was there, and there was three or four there players in around him. Back in the day, you would have had Sutton, Nialbi, everyone in on top. That Celtic team, they're too nice. We were saying watching the game, it's like they've done a PR class on how to be nice to people. They're just soft. No one wants to get stuck in, put a tackle in, be bullied around the pitch. It's actually sad to watch.
Oh, it's dire. You need a couple of big...
Brown did that in the second half. He threw himself about. The beginning of the second half was the only sort of positive, was sort of to create those chances and stuff. But just
even the penalty though. The penalty summed up the season. Just total laziness. I love Edward. I think he's a brilliant player, and but you can just see he does not want to be at the club. So if he doesn't want to go facilitate his move, he's clearly not interested.
We spoke about it last week off air about Edward, and I wasn't ready for him to leave, but I'm ready now. In terms of with the penalty as well, what was Griffiths doing walking up to him? The cheek of Griff to walk up and ask what's going on with the penalty or whatever.
I think he was maybe talking to the ref.
Yeah,
because the rebound already been booked. Should have been second yellow card. Should have been off. See that Edward penalty miss. Do you know what it remind me of? Do you remember Samaras's miss when we drew 0-0 there?
Yeah.
McGregor saved it, and it looked like a lazy, cumbersome penalty. Not arse, not bothered, and that just reeks through Edward's performances through this season. Doesn't want to be there. Should have been sold last summer. I know everyone was like, keep him for the 10 in a row season, but if someone doesn't want to be there, get rid of them. And Celtic's model has always been get someone in and sell them at their peak. They broke their model last season to keep players when they should have sold them, and it's backfired miserably.
Oh, aye. The amount of players that we need as well. See, fundamentally, just back to the day quickly before we're going to talk about that. Through the week, right, we were talking about the difference today would have been having width. That's what that game screamed out for, because their two fullbacks could get so high. They battered us all day. And we are curtailed straight away because you've got two fullbacks that we've got that are absolutely hopeless. So I was hopeful that Elianusi plays on one, Forrest plays on another, and then you've got an out ball. The midfield, you cannot play a diamond like that. It suffocates us. We go so narrow, and then we just get bullied over the park. What's happened to McGregor? He's a shell of a player. Turnbull, I think, is a really good player. I don't think he had a great game today. Some of his passing was crazy. Brown chucked in a couple of tackles, but the team was just devoid of ideas. They just looked absolutely hopeless, just diabolical. And we had so many decent chances as well, like 3 or 4. Like, we have to finish the penalty, and in 3 or 4 chances, technically we could have won the game, and we were absolutely rancid. There's so many more problems, I think, than just in 90 minutes. You need to look at a holistic, bigger picture, and fundamental changes need to be fixed at that football club. I mean, how many players do we need to bring in? I would let about 10 of them go.
I was counted about 10. McGregor's probably the only one I'd keep, knowing that Ayer's going to be away, Edward's away. They need a whole new team, squad, and they need a mindset change. There's people out there who are afraid to go into stuff. I remember Gordon Strachan talking before, saying that being brave isn't jumping into a tackle. Being brave is getting on the ball and wanting to do things. And you look at some of those Celtic players, they get the ball. How can I get rid of it as quick as I can? Or in Kenny's place, pass it backwards.
How bad is he? Like, he wouldn't get in a 5-a-side team. He is absolutely minging. Like, I was just dismayed watching him today. I just thought, how did you get scouted to come to Celtic? He's an absolute imposter. I'd drive him back to Liverpool.
He looked afraid, didn't he? He looked
coward.
off. He just didn't want to be on the pitch.
No, he's so bad. He's just so bad.
He gets a nosebleed every time he hits that halfway lane.
I think one of the lads
going forward.
Yeah, one of the lads on Axam was saying before we came on that he would have crumbled had there been a crowd there, and they would have tormented him.
They'd just be right on top of him. He's not got the mentality to deal with Celtic. It's probably a blessing in disguise he's not played in front of fans. I'm not going to torture the lad too much, but he's absolutely hopeless. And when you look back to Steen's quote when he says that Celtic jerseys don't shrink to fit and feed our players, there was about at least 5 or 6 on that pitch today that aren't fit to wear a Celtic jersey. Absolute imposters.
Totally agree.
Where do we go forward for here though? You need a manager in now.
Well, they need a manager in 4 weeks or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Big time. Tomorrow's Don Mackay's first day in it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a busy boy, isn't he?
If you look back all the way for Rodgers leaving, that was really the start of the demise. There was so many problems, and we've regressed so much. It's almost like there's been an acceptance of this apathy that will just downsize. Like what I touched on at the start, talking about, you let Tierney go, who I believe, if he's not already world class, he's on a trajectory to be, and you let Frimpong go, who I thought was a decent player, had a bit of pace, wasn't amazing, but still goes for, I think it was 11 or 12 million pound, and you replaced them just in 2 positions alone with 2 lads that are loanees. Like, what does that tell you about where we want to go as a club? Where's the ambition?
The ambition has been for years to just be 1 goal better than Rangers.
The name,
That's been Lawwell's plan. And if you aim for the stars, you might not get there, but you'll get close to it.
Yeah.
If you aim to be 1 goal better than them, odds are you're not going to be 100% there. So you're going to naturally fall off. And that's what's happened. They've caught up and surpassed us. I think we could be looking at a year or 2 of them winning leagues.
What we've talked about this, the 3 of us, so many times. If you have a model where you speculate to accumulate, but you invest in a proper coach with proper coaches around him as well, and bring in the players that can guarantee success but aim to do it in Europe, the league would have taken care of itself. And
completely.
So if you've got a model where Celtic are saying, no, we want to try and aim to be competitive in Europe, not necessarily the Champions League, but the Europa League, and we buy players that fit that mould, then you'll take the club forward, and domestic success becomes a foregone conclusion, obviously, which it has been for 9 years. The problem being is we've no capitalised or built on success. We've regressed, and that started the day that we signed Lennon in the showers. It started after we let Rodgers go. I know the circumstances and the way that he left was diabolical, but he left because he wasn't supported properly, and the relationship decayed so much with the board. There's so many fundamental problems at that club, and it's so short-termism. What you just said is spot on. All the plan was to be is just a goal ahead of them, win the league, be better than them, and it's completely and utterly backfired, and it needs to be addressed. And the sole blame in my book would go to the board. Lawwell needs to take massive accountability for what he's done before he leaves.
I would put the full blame at the board for where we are, but also those players need to have a look at themselves. There's just, as you were saying, imposters and cowards on that pitch. You don't want to be there. Don't want to put the work in, and they look like at best maybe Inverness players. Like, they don't stand out from anyone else.
100%. we spoke about offline as well about the likes of like Ryan Christie and stuff. These players are looking to move on to the Premier League, and I don't know what world they're living in. He done absolutely nothing today. He no runs off the ball, no creating chances. Just I didn't even know he was on the pitch until he got taken off.
He's only interested in playing in a blue jersey. He's got no desire, I don't think, to be there. I've heard a few times his dad wants him to get a move and all that sort of stuff as well. I'd be delighted if he went on. I was really hoping he wouldn't play today. Forrest would have just made such an integral difference today. When you've got width, you can actually run at them, getting behind. We missed that all game, and but it's not just necessarily the game. It's so much bigger than that. There's so many problems. Like if you look at European teams and you look at the budget that we have, the resources and the size of the stadium, where we should be compared to where we are, sometimes I think there's this element of like some Celtic fans are a smidge blinkered when they think our players are much better than they actually are. If you compare that team to a European standard team, they're so far off the pace, it's absolutely unbelievable. But there's a reason why since 2004 we've not got past the knockout stages in European competition. And that today, that team was just absolutely rancid. Absolute cowards, a huge 90 minutes, a chance to go and stake a claim and push forward and try and keep the cup. Give us one positive out of a fairly atrocious season, and now you go back to Mowbray's times where we've not won any silverware since 2009. It's just an absolutely subpar, shocking performance by a bunch of cowards that half of them weren't fit to wear a jersey. Absolutely abysmal.
How depressing was it? Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Pearson, man.
I was just saying, like, seeing the team came out, obviously it was sad not seeing Forrest on the pitch.
Yeah.
But how depressing was it looking at that bench? There's nothing there that would inspire you to come on.
Yeah.
Just
how's Ralston still on the bench? How's he even at the club?
I thought we released him last summer. I thought he was gone.
He went to St Johnstone. He went to St Johnstone and he went to, was it Wraith Rovers or something like that?
He was at Dundee United before in the Championship.
Dundee United as well, aye.
Didn't stand out there either.
I'm sure he was at the Saints as well, St Johnstone.
Yeah, last season he was.
Yeah, and my father-in-law, his best mate's a St Johnstone fan, and he was saying he wasn't that good. So if you go to a team like St Johnstone and you didn't look the business, we've got serious problems. He must have the best agent in the world. I don't know how he's still in the squad.
Well, he made a funny joke at Neymar, didn't he? So that seems to get you a contract.
Keep him in.
I'd have him on before John Joe Kenny. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
completely honest. Like he's going to give you a bit. He's going to give you something. He's going to give you a bit of passion. He's going to give you a bit of heart or whatever. Yeah, definitely.
But that's where we've got to though, Lee. Right? People like that. That's the argument about Taylor. Like, oh, you know, Taylor's gives you a wee bit more rigidity at the back. Kennedy got it wrong. We should have been starting with him. That's where we're at. We're talking about players like Laxalt or Taylor. Like, talking about players that they should get a start because they've got heart and a bit of passion. Whatever happened to Celtic players have an actual ability? Like, how have we got to a situation where we're accepting these frauds in the club? These guys are not fit to play for Celtic. They're absolutely miles off the pace, just miles off. And there's so many problems. Like, just starting with recruitment, like an overhaul is massive, but it's the personalities you bring in as well. That team is devoid of leaders, just absolute soulless. Like, takes a lot of money to rebuild that team. I don't know where we start, but you need a goalie for starters because the three of them are honking. You need 2 new wing backs straight away. You need 2 new centre midfielders. I don't know where we go going forward with the strikers. Edwards, Ofsky, Griffiths is in no way, shape or form entitled, in my opinion, to stay at the club after the summer. He sort of set the tone anyway, coming back unfit. Just a lack of professionalism, and the fact it's acceptable at Celtic at the moment just tells you the levels of decay that have set in and the acceptability of our absolute demise this season.
If we had any ambitions, he would have been emptied last summer, and contract cancelled, because that's just you're professional footballer. Anyone would kill to do it, and he comes back not acting professional, overweight. And the problem with Griffiths is, and I'm a big Griffiths fan, is he'll get you goals, and that's why he's always going to be kept around. Yeah, but he's going to end up like, unfortunately, I think, like Derek Riordan or Gary O'Connor.
Well, he'll go. I think there was talk of him going to Aberdeen with Brown, and I'm sure Hibs would take him back again. But in my opinion, he's no fit to be at the football club anymore. There's definitely a case like what you just said. He'll maybe play next season. He'll maybe get you 15 goals or what have you. But it's so much more than that. When you accept that level of apathy and that desire or lack thereof, that sets into the team. It's like woodworm. Like, you can't just accept these sort of circumstances when players are coming back. He's been given a million chances. He deserved the support for the club. He had difficult times. He got the support that he needed, and he's repaid the club just appallingly, especially the fans as well. The fans of the club. And you need to get him out. You need to have players in there that have a desire, a mentality to want to beat Celtic, to be successful at Celtic, but also good enough to represent the club. And there's loads of people there that just aren't fit to be at the football club at the moment. Loads.
It shows you that the standards have clearly slipped.
Oh, aye.
How is that acceptable that you're able to come back from pre-season in that condition? And again, you can go back to Neil Lennon and his coaching abilities and whatever else. That was the standard at the beginning of the season, where we're setting ourselves up for failure right away.
Yeah, I don't want to particularly, I've done the Lennon thing to death now at this stage, but just where did it all go? And I look back at the Barnes season when it came to an end, and Petrov was there, and he was given 10 games at the end of that season to go and show a player. We've gotten rid of our Henderson off to Dunfermline. He should have been kept for 8-9 games and said, here's a run the team, you're going to play every week. And at least people will know if he's a player or not. How are you to know if these guys will make it at Celtic? You never will if they're out playing with Dunfermline in the second division. The whole youth setup needs to be overhauled as well. We seem to just produce players for lower league Scottish teams, but it doesn't really manifest in Celtic players. Bar in the last 10 years, who can you think? Maybe Forrest, Tierney, McGregor.
Well, that was the last crop. I think it was evidenced in the game against Hibs after the trip to Dubai, the problems, because fundamentally the young laddies that came in just weren't good enough. They were so far off the pace. So we don't have enough players that are coming through the youth team that are good enough to transition straight into the first team. Certainly improve us, but even just maintain standards. There's a difficulty there as well, though, because they're no patch the league, so it's really hard. Like, they're basically just touting themselves for friendlies against teams in England. But that starts as well with coaching. You need to improve the level of coaching, and Lennox Town should be reaping rewards. You should be producing players that are coming through the youth academy that are good enough to go in that first team. But there's a lot of fundamental problems at Celtic, loads, especially this level of nepotism and support and give guys contracts and that are not necessarily entitled to them or deserving of them. There's so many things, I think, that need to be addressed fundamentally more than just the 90 minutes today. Today was just systematically how disastrous our season's been.
I think Turnbull as well. I know you said at the start of the episode that he wasn't so good today. I disagree. I thought Turnbull was the one who was trying to create chances and actually bring a good sort of bit of flow in football going forward. Players like him, we need to build a team around. Obviously, Scott Brown's leaving. He's going to Aberdeen. And Colin McGregor, like this thing that they would talk about, leadership in that squad. McGregor was, again, for me, non-existent today, and I think he's had a really poor season. A few odd games where he's been good, but very, very staggered performances. So there's no doubt we need to bring someone in there like Sorrow. Sorrow's on the bench. What could he have done so wrong that to get, he was doing fantastic when he was in there. He was looking like he was a really good player. He looked like he was a leader as well. Just gutting seeing him on the bench. Give the boy a chance, like.
See, when you say there though about, I actually said Turnbull played okay. I didn't think he was as good as he usually has been of late. But there wasn't really anyone that stood out the day that I thought had a particularly good game. There was, in relation to your point though, I think players like McGregor don't turn into a bad player overnight. He's a top class player. So that just kind of evidences to you even more the case for a proper manager to come in. You watch him under Rodgers, he was absolutely incredible. Back in the days where he was scoring against Bayern Munich, Zenit and all that, he was taking games to the scruff of the neck. He used to batter that mob. Every single time he played them, he was pretty much coming up with a goal or an assist. He was frightening. So you don't turn into a bad player overnight. And that just highlights how poor the systematic decisions have been at the higher reaches of the club, bringing in guys that have literally regressed most of the players. Most of the team has went backwards. All the progress we made under Rodgers has been eradicated in the last 18 months.
It can't be a coincidence that since Lennon came back, McGregor has just depleted as a player, because Lennon's last season at the club, McGregor was sent off on loan to Notts County. So Lennon clearly didn't rate him as a player then. And when he came back as a manager, he couldn't manage to find a system McGregor could play, whereas he was standing out for Rodgers week in, week out. I thought McGregor was just a fantastic player to watch. He was just a lovely player. I'm a bit of a fanboy for McGregor. So I'd watch him play football all day. I think he'd be the best five-a-side player in the world. I really do. But it's just
after John Joe
I don't know what happened.
But it was just like in terms of the chances, like so like Edward, what was Edward doing for that one? Just put that ball down to the ground, like going for the. It's sort of like he was going like a fancy finish. Just get that ball into the back of the net.
The one where he was trying to be cute. He could have even taken a touch. But he has to just get over that ball and get drilled into the ground. But he's trying to be clever and cute. You didn't need to be clever or cute there. You need to bury the ball and finish it.
Big time.
Stokes missed a chance like that at Ibrox. It was the day we could have won the league at Ibrox.
Oh, aye.
Was it 10 years ago? Stokes missed a chance like that at 1-0 down, and he kind of tried to drill it down over the bar. That was the flashbacks. When he missed that, I was like, we haven't a chance here, because it's just. My dad was saying it was Tommy Bourne stuff out there, but he just couldn't score a goal. And I think there's a psychological thing looking at Celtic where McGregor they don't think they can get a goal past him.
We could have played for another week and no scored today. We were absolutely hopeless, literally, completely and utterly hopeless. Just watching it, I was thinking back the other night about Christie and all that sort of stuff as well. He is just a shambles. Like, if any bid came in for him, I'm talking £1 million, I'd bite your hand off, catch you after. See you later on. The whole tone, for me, I was a bit apprehensive because the second I seen Forrest wasn't in the squad, I thought, this isn't a good omen. He's the one person that gives you an out, boy. He's the one person that has a direct pace and comes in behind. I thought Elyounoussi was really quiet today. Didn't really seem like he was that interested. Came into a wee bit in the second half, but he had a fairly uneventful game. There was no one really that wanted to even take the game by the scruff of the neck. You touched on Turnbull. I thought Turnbull done okay. His delivery at times was quite poor, but our final ball and just decision making, really, really small basic things, decision making. But a couple of years ago, that would have been so crisp. Playing in behind them, working, playing triangles, running off the ball. We just looked so slow and so boring, and everything came through the middle because we were playing that diamond. It just didn't work. And I didn't think they were great on chances. But
no, they weren't.
That's the big thing. That's the big thing. That's the big thing for me with Rangers. That team are not. They're okay. They're set up well. They do their job properly, but it shows you how poor that we actually are.
Yeah.
Like. They're just not they're not this whole sort of thing. They're going for this unbeaten in the league thing, and you're going to yourself, how have they done that? How have they done it? I just don't believe that they're a very, very good squad, like the way they're being made out to be.
When you go,
they've got a killer instinct though. Did you see that heat map a few weeks ago on Twitter about the chances where theirs are all pretty much between the goal in the box, ours are either side of the box, here, there, and everywhere. They have a killer instinct.
They're hungry as well.
When they want to, it's just night and day to watch. It's like playing against men at Celtic at kids. Looking at them, they want it more. They're quick. They can fasten the game up when they need to. We just are so slow. It's like Leeds. Like watching Ireland, where it's just absolutely horrendous stuff to watch. That's what it's like watching Celtic these days.
Big time. And if you watch their first goal, McGregor loses the ball when we actually went from countering to being countered and conceding that goal.
Yeah.
Kent just bombed forward. John Joe Kenny was like, what do I do here? What's the point of me being here?
He looked lost at points today. He literally just looked totally and utterly lost. He was just devoid of ideas. And remember, I think we touched on it just before. I was talking to my mate Muzza, and he was going on about Laxalt because he wanted Taylor to start, right? And goes back to that argument about, we could talk about that all day long, but fundamentally it doesn't make a huge massive difference. Both of them are diabolical. But remember the one was at Aribo where he turned him inside out. So he's been done too easy, right? But then you're thinking to yourself, right, go and make amends for it though. Go and work hard, go and graft, go and get it back. He literally stood and watched them and half jogged to the point where he cuts the ball across the box. Like, what are you doing? Like, even if you've got limitations in your game, you need to at least match it with effort. Go and graft, go and work, go and get back, get touch tight, put them under pressure. He was just an absolute car crash, and both of them were just totally and utterly hopeless. I would have whipped the two of them off at half time. I just thought they were absolutely shocking.
Obviously the season's done now. Obviously the season's done, so how quickly do you think, Pierce, mate, that we're going to make this managerial decision?
I don't know. with the social distancing, was Lawwell allowed into the showers tonight? Could have been
There he
job
is.
going forward. But I don't know. They need to get off to a quick start. They should have been a man. How long has Lennon gone now? 6-7 weeks maybe at this stage. And there's been obviously there was the how rumours going around. I saw stuff in the paper today about Keane saying he's missed out on the job. I know a fellow who works as a scout, and he's already planning for not just this season, this season's transfer window, but next January. It doesn't look like Celtic have a plan going forward. It's if he gets the transfer window day and Lawwell rings up clubs. Have you got any centre halves you want shot of, and we'll take them off you? Because there's no plan, there's no recruitment. It's just Dudu Dahan is the chief scout. Clearly, any of his clients signed them up, lads. Don't care if they're terrible. Beaton, how long has he been there? 8 years now at this stage. He has a job for life at Celtic, and I don't even think his contract's up this summer. I don't know where it goes.
It goes back to that short-termism we were talking about. There doesn't seem to be a strategic plan. It's just we'll just wing it, and if we win the league, happy days. There's no focus on the bigger picture, putting Celtic where it should be. A club with that size, that resource, with the size of the stadium, with the size of the fan base, shouldn't be thinking, right, our ambition this season is to beat a team that's only been in the league since 2016. We should be thinking far, far, far greater than that, and it's come up to bite us in arse. But I don't know. I still think Eddie Howe actually will come in, but you need to be looking to do your business now, and we need to get away from this sentimentality like, oh, Kennedy's been a good servant and all that sort of stuff. Catch after. You've been under 3 managers now. It's time to part company with him. That's Strachan. Oh my God! Like, how is he involved in the club? Like, he's an absolute imposter as well. There's so many changes, but first and foremost, I think. Is it tomorrow that your man Dom Mackay starts?
First day tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the stand today, wasn't he?
Yeah. So you need to think straight away, right, let's go and get the right manager. Clearly there's fundamental problems. Kennedy isn't in demand for the job. He stepped in after a really, really poor season. He was responsible in the sense that he helped oversee it as well. He has to be parted company. We thank him for his time, but we need to go and get a new direction, a new guy with his own team. He can't be planted with guys that Celtic want him to have. He needs to have autonomy to bring in his own guys. He needs to be supported to go and get the proper players. And as I says earlier on, you don't turn into a bad player overnight. There's still players in that team that could be much improved with a proper manager. Just the exact same thing as what Rodgers done with that crop. We obviously need quite a lot of signings, but first and foremost you need a proper manager that knows how to get them drilled, get them working and get them organised, and you need a couple of big personalities to come in there, because the team is just like watching young laddies that just look lost, just total cowards.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you're saying there, Martin. And how quickly, as I just asked Pierce about bringing the new manager in, obviously he's not going to be, starting his official date, probably be in around June time, but the quicker you get him in, the quicker you get plans in place for Europe this season, and like getting strategic plans in place for next season, getting players in, working in the background, building backroom staff, whatever it is they need to be doing. Things just it needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Mm. Well, who's making decisions at the moment at Celtic? Like, Klamala's just gone for £3.5 million. We've already bought a lad in on a pre-contract. What was club? Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield, was it Wednesday? He was at the midfielder. Yeah. Who's making the decisions? Like, is Lawwell still pulling the strings behind the scenes, or?
I think it was Hammond who seems to be doing the recruitment. But I don't know what you guys think about the manager. See, if it's not Eddie Howe, it's a PR disaster, because everyone will know he was our first choice. Yeah. So, and any manager will know he was second choice. So straight off, you're off to a loser. It's just they need to go and get. If it's not Howe, they need to get somebody, and it needs to be tomorrow. And they need to start the PR spin.
And that's the frustrating thing is as well, that no deal seems to be like just done. You talk about replacing Eddie. Everyone's talking about that he's going to. In fact, it looks like now he's going to be off. But even Tony could have been in there. Like, apparently that deal was very, very close. That boy would have been incredible. And you talk about John McGinn. I don't really want to go down that whole lane, but I think that Don Mackay, decisions need to be made faster, especially in this game and the way it is now currently. We just need to get a manager in place, support him, whatever he needs, and then you've got players there in the team like El Yunusi. We've spoken about him previously. I think that we need to sign him. I do. Obviously, the day wasn't his best performance, but in terms of like that stability in his career, he's going to get that at Celtic. And if you bring in a manager like Eddie Howe, he's gonna perform much better under a manager who plays free flowing football with better players around him. And you talk about James Forrest in that team. I think him and Turnbull are going to have a fantastic partnership. It was evident last week against Livingston, like how well they played together. And I think today as well, if Forrest is on that pitch, I know we've spoken about it.
Different game.
I think you get a different game, 100%. The runs he makes in behind, I think we tried it once a day, bringing the ball across over the top for Edward. Forrest makes them runs consistently.
How predictable were we though? I was watching it just thinking, it's like they play like the same part. They play like 35 times. I was like, they know what's coming. It's so easy to set up. Yeah. We're no breaking lines. We're not going in behind. We weren't putting them under really any pressure. Their two wing backs had an absolute canter today. They it was just you knew what was going to happen. You could see it's so predictable, so slow, so boring, and you were sort of waiting until about 65, 70 minutes, knowing that's when he's going to change it. The shape should have been changed at half time. He made his mistake before that. But more than just Kennedy, though, he has to take a degree of responsibility. He's currently the interim manager. But I think the players have to take, generally, the vast proportion of the blame for the day. As a professional player, as a man, you have to be able to at least just apply a bit of pressure and be able to put in a performance that's worthy. And the players today were just non-existent, and they have to take the vast majority of the responsibility. Some of them were just an absolute disgrace. You certainly wouldn't believe that some of them are playing to try and get in European squads, and if some of them are wanting a move, you wouldn't know it, because some of the performances were a joke. Edward, I'm his biggest fan. He was absolutely houfing today, and his lackey just professionalism and his desire was just abundant. He was just shocking. It was just like a performance of contempt.
See, those players, they're extremely lucky that there's not a crowd of fans waiting at Celtic Park when they got back. I don't think any of them could take it. They just look like cowards who would crumble under any sort of pressure. But they're like that on the pitch anyway. Anything into defence, they just fall to pieces. The clearances are just... Have a look at their clearances, and they're long, and they're into space. They're like nearly like down the pitch where people can go and fight the ball. We just seem to like head the ball straight back into like where the Stephen Davis. He's like a magnet to the ball. That fella, he's everywhere. I don't like giving him any criticism. He's a lovely footballer.
Give him nothing.
Did you mean to say praise there? I don't like giving them any criticism. Give them every criticism. They overran us in the middle of the park, and I says that's where the game would have been won and lost. So many times we just bypassed it, playing balls. It was like they weren't even looking. It was just like they were I'll just kick the ball wherever I can. It was just absolutely shocking, just an absolute car crash of performance. The only good thing I says at the start that will come out of that is that there can be no viable case for Kennedy to get the job now. There's also no excuses. There's no more hiding behind anonymity. You need to be able to go out and get the manager done as soon as possible. Don't drag your heels and wait months and months. Bring them in now. Start strategically sitting down, working out what players we need, and then fundamentally start working to improve them. But the season's dead. Every game now is a total waste of time, and so all the graft needs to start now. No, in a couple of months' time, it literally needs to start now. And there's a huge rebuild. Like you were talking the other night about Tony. I know the situation with McGinn. There was us not buying certain players and bringing in the wrong manager has cost us to the stage that we're at now. Like if we just done things right and put plans in place and got some of the players, we would never be in the position that we're in. We've done it so many times in Celtic's history. Whenever we've been in a position of power, we regress as opposed to and then all the hard work's undone. You've seen the exact same after Seville.
It's like
see going forward.
Say that again, mate.
Just like see going forward now. For we've got 5 games left.
Yeah.
What players would you play? Who would you get rid of?
I'd just play youth players until the end of the season.
Yeah, you look at that bench and go, who do you want to play there? Like apart from Sorrow.
The games didn't matter. I'm not really bothered about points deficits and all that sort of stuff. I didn't care. 20 points, 40 points. The season's done. I would just switch it about and play young laddies that look like they're actually hungry and got a bit of appetite and try and bed them in. See if they're good enough. If they're no, let them go. If they are, happy days. But there's a lot of players there that I'm just struggling. Like Ayeti, like I know that there seems to be a bit of goal scorer in him, but there's just so many players. They just didn't seem interested. Even their body language was like warming up and all that sort of stuff. Griffiths just did not look in the slightest interested. It was quite a soft penalty. I didn't actually think it was a free kick leading up to the penalty. I thought he won the ball. Similar to Brown's tackle.
It was about the only thing we got off Bobby Madden today, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. But
I think Welsh would have had a penalty as well.
Aye, there was a shout for that.
Definitely.
And it should have been a free kick on Elyounoussi as well in the first half. Like
When
the
he
tackle.
think it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about that until we're blue in the face. At the end of the day, we had our chances.
Exactly.
We didn't take them. They had their chances and they took them.
Precisely, and that's the key. You have to take your chances. You can't have a situation where you have 8 decent chances, 4 or 5 of them clear cut, and just don't even take one. Even the penalty just summed up the season. You have to take your chances at that level, and it would have been a different game. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. We got beat. You have to take it on the chin. Can't win everything, but it's just the manner of the season, the way that we've went about our business, the way that we've conducted ourselves. 150 problems off the park, and then all the situations on the park. Just a car crash of a season. Next year can't be any worse anyway. So,
When's the renewals coming out?
Aye, I don't know how they're going to spin that one.
Can't wait.
A club, a calling, a culture. Give us another £530. You can watch it on a TV screen.
And I'll tell you.
That's it.
Madness. But there's big changes needing at the club, and it starts with the manager. You're spot on the money as well, though. See what you were saying about how. See if we don't get how, and we go and get some like, and you bring it. Aye, something like that.
Gary McGuinness.
I wouldn't even be surprised, like if like say the stumbling block with Howe, right, is the fact he can't get his men behind the scenes that he wants to bring in his own team. So the rumblings have been anyway, or he's not happy with the situation that Fergal Harkin's coming in as a director of football. He wants his own squad. Say we didn't get him and he goes wherever, right, somewhere down in the Premiership, and then you go and get like, say we did get Roy Keane or something like that. Where'd you go for there? Like?
You wouldn't be surprised, but you just wouldn't be surprised. Like, what else could this season throw at us? Like,
Yeah.
you look at it, 5 games against them, 4 defeats, 1 draw. That's just simply not good enough. Like,
No,
it's not good enough. Things need to change, big time. Massive changes need to happen right away. Just not acceptable at all. Like.
Other than that, though, it's not been that bad. Like, we beat Livingston last week. They were on holiday mode last week, but people were getting obsessed about a win over a team who were eyeing themselves in Ibiza in the summer. They can't just wait to get their vaccine to go abroad.
Neither can I.
Santa Ponza, yes please. Anyway, we'll wrap up for the day, lads. There's not really too much that we need to labour. The performance was terrible. The season was terrible. Follow us on Twitter. Patriot Game 1888. We've got an amazing podcast coming out on Tuesday with the Celtic captain Tom Boyd. Lads, I'll be talking to you shortly. What can you do? You have to be able to be magnanimous sometimes and take a defeat. Wasn't our day, wasn't our season. Next season, bounce back, and we'll take back what's rightful ours. Anyway, lads, pleasure talking to you again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
See you too, lads. Cheers.
All the best.